This is Diane with Phil's Sewing Virtual Club. Today we're going to get into the projector and how you can get the most out of using that projector, adjusting the lighting in the settings and so forth. So let's go ahead and get started, okay? Today we're going to be using the 200 by 200 hoop, okay? And that 200 by 200 hoop is magnetic, okay? It comes with the hoop itself, and then it has 8 magnets that come with it, okay? You're going to position the magnets wherever, you know, needed to get the most from their positioning, or from their holding ability, okay? Now, with this frame, okay, it talks about the magnets, and so it's like I wanted to just talk about them a little bit as well. So if you're somebody who has a pacemaker, it recommends that you definitely keep them away from your pacemaker. And then also if you have like other electronic equipment such as computer discs or even credit cards with that magnetic strip, you want to keep them away from them too, because these magnets are very, very strong, okay? And you have to be careful when you're putting them on that you don't pinch yourself. So you can see how that grabbed that hoop. See how that grabbed it? We'll do it one more time just so that you get an idea. And you could hear that little thump. It was grabbing it and putting it into position onto the magnetic frame itself. So do read the safety instructions that come with those magnets. I just want to make sure everyone's safe and, you know, nobody's sorry for any situation that could occur because of the strength of that magnet. So here you go, very strong little dudes, okay? First things first, okay, we always need to make sure we choose the hoop that we're working with. So we're going to come into our hoop settings over here under hoop options, and remember down below here we have a listing of what those features will do for us. And so the verbiage is there. They're all identified with what they do. So definitely take advantage of that, because that's a great little feature. Okay, here since I clicked on the hoop options, it takes me into this field right in here. The current hoop that I had on there was the Creative Hoop Supreme, which is the 360 by 260. And I do believe that comes with your machine as well. You also have this Creative Grand Dream hoop. This is one of the largest hoops on the market. It's 360 by 350, and it will do designs that are approximately 14 by 14 inches. And and it's one of those hoops where you're going to have to rotate. So embroider half of your design, rotate it, and put the other half. So it's got 2 connections on it, similar to this. So you'll have one of these connectors on both sides of that hoop. So for that orientation mode. For this hoop, we're going to choose the 200 by 200 hoop. So here it is. Close out of it. Remember, when you click on the icon again, it closes out of it. Okay. Then up here it shows the selected hoop. So we got a 200 by 200 selected hoop. We also have our embroidery foot, which is the 60 foot attached. This is the AI system working for us, identifying what we have on the machine and what will work for the design that we're working for. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select a design that we're going to work with. What I have here is a towel. Okay. I embroidered the first design, or the first towel, using a striped towel, and the second design, which will be the same design, but I'm going to use it on the polka dots. So I want to make sure that I position everything accurately, okay? So we're going to use the projector on the screen to make sure our positioning is where we want that design to embroider out, okay? So what I'm going to do, go ahead and select that design that we're going to work with. Okay, we're going to scroll over and you can see some of the different categories that you can utilize and embroider. These are all built within the machine itself, okay? So you got your signature designs, the Pfaff exclusive. We also have flowers and leaves. We also have birds and insects. We have frames and borders, this and that, holiday, children's, quilts, kitchen designs, and mini designs. Okay, I'm going to go back to the Pfaff exclusives, and under here I'm going to go to the top so that you can see some of these different designs. These designs are you know, when they embroider out, they're just exquisite. Okay, so we're going to just scroll down and you can see some of those different designs that are under the Pfaff exclusive category. Some of these are designs that you're going to merge together to create a completed design. So like right there, that one, it's going to create a circle. So you can merge different elements together to create that circle. We've got some birds in here. We've got some floral right here in a circular mode. It's not the design I want, but we're going to continue to go down. Okay. The design I want is this butterfly, 171. Okay. To put that on our workspace, we're going to hold it with a long hold. It puts it right onto our workspace. This toolbar right here is dockable, so you can place that wherever you need it placed when you're working on it or on your design itself. Okay, so now we have our design, so now we have to figure out where we're going to place it. And one thing I also wanted to mention, that these towels are from Kimberbell Designs. So you can find them at Larry and Annette's store in Washington, Missouri. So if you need to replicate what I'm doing here, they do have this packet of towels in their store, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach my hoop. Make sure it clicks into place, and it clicked into place. Okay. Now what I did with this is I used an iron-on stabilizer on the back side of my towel, so that when it's completed with its embroidery, I could just rip this away or tear it away, and you know, you'll have a beautiful back and front on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on my projector button, which is the top button on this toolbar. Okay, I want the projector on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, put that projector on. Oh, it says here, Creative Quilters Hoop 200 by 200. Please make sure the hoop clicks into place and that the attached hoop is in the same as the selected hoop on the screen. Okay, so let's verify that. Okay, please remove the hoop. So we're going to just remove it just to make sure that everything is situated properly. Okay, and say okay to it. Now, one thing we want to make sure, okay, I think what happened, the reason why it's not identifying that hoop is a simple fact that can be corrected very easily. When I go back into my hoop settings, just realized what happened here is I selected the Creative Quilters Hoop 200 by 200. Okay, right below it, it also has another hoop that says Creative Quilters Metal Hoop 200 by 200. I made a mistake. Okay, easy correction is go ahead, select that metal hoop. Go ahead, close out of this field, then attach the hoop itself to the quilting arm. You clicked into place, So I think it's set right now. Now I'm going to go ahead and say okay to it. And it likes this hoop a lot better because the machine is using its AI capability to recognize the fact that I did not have the correct hoop on the machine. I had the 200 by 200 hoop, but the 200 by 200 with an M behind it is the metal or the metallic or the magnetic hoop, I should say. Okay, so we're good to go right now. So I'm going to turn on my icon or my projection with it on. Now I have a couple different icons here or opportunities that I can adjust to make sure that that design projects correctly. So I've got my brightness, it's set at the lowest, but I'm going to up it and put it at the highest setting. And you can see what's happening here. You can see a hint of projection going on here right now. Now I can also change my background color. Sometimes the dark background is going to allow the color or the design to show through in its entirety and make it a lot easier. But if you decide that, hey, I wanna experiment here with some other colors to see what they'll do to it, I can click on the quick color view right here. Once I click on it, I must say okay to it to make the change on my projection area. Now, when it projects, it's projecting an area 4 inches wide by approximately 2 inches deep or tall, whatever you want to call it here. So it's a 4 by 2 inch area, okay? And it's projecting in the front of the needle. So that's something to remember. It's projecting in front of the needle, okay? So you'll see slightly here where the ends of my design are. Right here and right there, okay? So do I like the green? Well, let's try some other colors and see if any other color would be better on there. So this is a white projector, okay? And you can see how it brightens the area up. And it's going to depend what color you choose based upon your fabric that's in your hoop itself, okay? So I'm also going to put a piece of white stabilizer on top of it. There you can really see that projection, okay? In this situation, I might take it back to the black area, or let's see if I can come up with a different color. Let's try the red, see what happens there. And you can see how it's changing that area, okay? Now, what I did after or before I hooped this, you know, I put a couple markings on the towel itself. So right up in here, you can see I used the Choco marker and I put a center line. So that's the center. I also put another mark, which is right in here, which is the center of the design. So from left to right, this would be the center of the design, and it's going to stitch any, you know, from approximately down in here upward. And of course, I can manipulate that a little bit as I go along. So I'm not opposed to that color, okay, at all. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm also going to mark, okay, on my stabilizer that position, or the center position, so I have an idea as to where that design is. Now, I'm going to come over here and grab this little tool. So this will move the hoop around, up, down, left, right, depending upon where the design is, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it, and you can see how it's moving that hoop upward, not the design, just the hoop, okay? So then what I can do is I can touch my design and determine that, you know what, maybe this is where I want my design to embroider. So it brings it down. So here I was moving the hoop. I was clicked on my design and moved it around because it's selected, as you can see. I can move it wherever I need that design placed. And I think right about there is probably pretty good. Here again, I'm moving the hoop, not the design. So you're going to fine tune it by adjusting the positioning of your hoop. And your design is where you put it then based upon that projection area. Okay. So if you're happy with that positioning, and I think I'm pretty satisfied, so I'm going to go ahead, and you can kind of see it here too with the background where it's going to embroider out, okay, onto the towel itself. I'm going to use this stabilizer just to give it a little extra stabilization on the back side. So I'm going to slide that under, okay, and I think should be pretty good. Okay, I just want to make sure it's under the design area. Okay, so you can also, just to let you know this, you can also turn your projector on and off right here. They put it here again because these are your most frequently used buttons. So easy access to those. There's that design again, comes right back up when I turned it off and then put it back on again. Brought it back right where I positioned it. Okay. So now I'm going to close out of that function. Okay, this can stay here. I can shut this off and then that goes away. So that little guide, that positioning guide, comes back on when you need it. Okay, and off when you turn the guide off. So we've got our design positioned. Okay, now we're ready to embroider it. Of course, you can rotate that design as well by using your rotate handle right up in there. Or you can come into design edit design, and you can edit from this field as well. But right now, I think I'm pretty satisfied with the positioning of that design. So I'm going to go ahead and say stitch out. Takes us back into this field where it gives you all the default settings for the machine for this particular stitch out. Tells me the hoop or the needle plate that I'm using. It also shows the metal hoop, the 200 by 200 hoop. Sort, merge, one color. So if you wanted your design to be one color, you could go ahead and select one color and the machine would not stop between the colors. Okay. I'm going to come up down here. I also have another functionality here, which is based around the design or based around the hoop. I'm going to say based around the hoop, okay? Because I want to make sure, there again, that my fabric in this metal hoop is stabilized, okay? And I also want to make sure that my magnets are out of that area, which I do believe they are. So I'm just kind of moving them to the edge of the hoop. And I can feel the hoop underneath here. And I think I'm pretty good there. Okay. So, and of course I do want my thread cutter on, so I'm going to say okay to that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say okay. Takes me back to the embroidery screen. And you can see here, this metal or magnet is a little bit too close in there. Okay, so I want to make sure again that they're moved to the edge. Okay, I guess I had them overlapping into the inside of the hoop. Excuse me. Okay, there we go. Let's see if I got that. Because I don't want my presser foot to bump into the magnets. Okay, now with this situation, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up my stitch progress. Okay, and the first stitch is a basting stitch. Okay, I also have the opportunity underneath this toolbar, there is a little palette. Okay, in here it's going to identify the areas that I'm stitching. Okay, at any given time. Right now I'm in the base mode, so I'm going to go ahead and thread my machine. I'm going to use the first color in the design. Thread the machine. Okay, and touch the needle threader. Here we go. And so forth. Let's see. I want to make sure. I'm going to go ahead and start the machine. One other thing before we go any further, if you feel like you have to hold your fabric down for positioning purpose while you baste, you know, you can use your foot controller. And right now I'm using my foot controller. And this adjusts the speed that that base stitch is applied. And if you see any areas that might be in question when you're basting, you can always let up on your foot control and the machine will stop. Ready to continue? Go ahead, press down on your foot control. Okay, automatically cut for us. Now we're getting into the colors on the design itself. The first design I've already chosen. I'm going to go ahead. This time I'm going to use this button, the start button, and it's going to embroider the design. And I put it at its highest speed setting as well. Doing the underlay first, of course. And I think we're pretty well set here for the time being until we have to change threads. I like to stack my threads up in a row so I know which threads are, up next during the embroidery process. That way there's no question as to what color I'm going to be using. And over here under my stitch progress area, your little wheel will tell you the progress for that color. This one will take approximately 10 minutes to embroider out the first color, and so forth. You can zoom in on your design as well if you so choose. You need to get big and bold into that design. You can move your background design as well, just by moving it up. That way you have a better indication of the area that's embroidering at that time, okay? It also shows the total number of stitches and it counts it down, okay? Over here, if your machine would stop for maybe you needed a thread change and maybe it advanced too far, you can click on the numbers, and if you hold that in long and hard, it'll pop up a little number chart, and you can pop in that stitch number that you want it to go to, which is kind of unique in its own way. That way you can get to an area. If you knew the areas, or approximately the area where that thread broke, you could plug it in almost to that very, very stitch. Or you could do it individually. You can minus the stitches one at a time, or plus the stitches one at a time. This area, the metering, that is more for the not density, but for the thickness of your fabrics and so forth. So if you've got a thicker fabric that you're going through, okay, you may want to lower this number so that it'll go through, and you're going to get a really good tension with the machine at that point in time. So there's a lot of different opportunities within this field that you should just definitely make note of and utilize them as best as you can, you know, when you're embroidering your designs. I'm going to go ahead and let this embroider out, and okay, so I'm back to the last color, and we're going to continue on. But before we go any further, I'm going to just stop for a second. And what I want to do is I want to talk to you about some of the features that are in this color block options category here. Okay. Remember when at the very beginning, before we embroidered the design, we basted the design, or basted around the area of the hoop? So what you can do at this point, so if you got to this point of embroidery and you decided, wow, I want to go back and I want to put a basting stitch in because I might have forgot to hit that opportunity or that option in that other field, you can actually click on baste here, and you can baste around that same hoop area. Another feature as we work our way across this is called the ghost mode. So during embroidery, if you click on the ghost mode, what happens with it, the area that's embroidering, and so we've got the center of the body on our butterfly embroidering right now, so that's the only area that is showing up big and bold with the colors. The other areas, as you can see, are ghosted out. You know they're there, but they're in ghost mode, so it's a better identify the area, and if you need to make adjustments to this area for whatever reason, like going forward or back, you can actually get in there and see that a whole lot better with that ghost mode on. I'm going to turn off the ghost mode, and the next category is the sort and the merge. Right now the sort would not apply, excuse me, would not apply for this design, but the merge might. So in that situation, you can click on merge if it applied, and so forth. The next category is the one color. So if you got to your stitch out mode and you decided, wow, I want to do this all in one color, I can tap on that particular function or feature, and it will apply throughout that whole design. So, okay, I just wanted to stop there for a little bit and explain those features within this color block option mode, okay? But so I'm going to go ahead and continue on, pressing my start button to finish up this design. And so we've got the last color up there already, ready to go. If you remember when I was doing the basting stitch all the way around, and I used my foot pedal to start and stop wherever I needed going around, there is nothing to say that you couldn't use your foot pedal if you're embroidering as well. Granted, sometimes that would not make any sense at all, you know, to use that foot pedal. So, but I thought that I would just throw that out there as an option if you so choose to do that at some point, whatever design it might be. Okay, so I'm going to get ready, change to my last color. This last color I'm going to use for 2 different areas of the design. Oop. So, read it. Go ahead and press the start. On this particular area is like 1 minute long for its stitching, and I believe the last area is too. So in, you know, since those 2 colors are so similar, I thought, well, I would combine those 2 areas. And you always have that right to combine areas if you so choose. At any time throughout the stitch process, okay, if you decide, say for instance, the body part here that was done in purple, you felt like you needed that to be thicker for whatever reason, maybe you wanted to give it a little bit more depth, what you could do with that is, you could, when the machine stops this next time, you could actually embroider that area 1 more time, and it'll stitch all areas that were in purple 1 more time. So you have more options within this field, which is, you know, I really like this because it's kind of like a sequence field. It's showing you the order things stitch out. But there again, the order that they stitch out, you can change as well in this field because you can choose a different area to stitch first, second, or third, depending upon what your preference is and what you're trying to achieve. This area is 2 minutes long. And so we're not too far from being completed with this design. Up on top here, I also wanted to show you that you can also set your time. Right now it's 12:47 in the afternoon, so you can change the time settings. You can also set a timer on here as well. So if you needed to be reminded of something, maybe you need to change your laundry or switch it into your dryer versus your washing machine, set your timer and say, okay, I think it's going to go off, set the timer, and then you can do your own thing and run upstairs and throw it in the dryer. You also have the ability over here to I don't know, the question mark is going to take you into the machine. If you've got a question about a certain area within the machine, you can go ahead and tap on that, and it'll give you directions as to, you know, hopefully what you're asking or what your question is. Okay? Okay, your embroidery is finished. I'm going to go ahead and say okay to it. And then I'm going to remove it, you're just going to push on the little tab here, and it releases the hoop. Okay. And there's your design, stitched out. Okay. Now, when you get ready to release your magnets, okay, I'm going to just kind of set this down here for a little bit and wait for the camera to catch up to me because I'm ready to remove those magnets. So now this is when it becomes really important that you don't get your finger underneath or between the magnets, because I'm going to set them down there, remove them, and you can see what I mean. See how that bounces back at you? And this is how you're going to store them as well. Okay, so make sure your finger is nowhere close because these guys are very powerful. There we go. There, okay. Here's our design. I'm going to remove my basting stitch. I'm going to remove my basting stitch and then go ahead and tear away my stabilizer on the back side. And this towel is ready to be hung on your towel rack. Okay. So if any of these products that we talked about today, you need, such as a stabilizer, the towels, even this hoop, okay? You can always go to Larry and Annette's at Phil's Sewing in Washington, Missouri to get any of these products, even the threads. So depending upon what thread brand you use, what I used was Madeira, but I can tell you that I've used several different brands of thread, and I have not had an issue with the threads fraying or whatever, not giving me high quality embroidery designs. So with that being said, they also have charcoal markers for marking. You can use friction pens as well, which is great. If you need a new pair of scissors, scissors are always something that we use on a continual basis. So anyway, make sure you visit Larry and Annette at Phil's, and they'll be more than willing to help you. Okay, thank you, and until next time.